Welcome to another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. Today we are coming on to talk side hustles, and specifically side hustles that can help complement you guys as cattle producers, what that looks like. And here's the thing with side hustles. Not all side hustles are created equal, especially when you are a rancher, right? And you are juggling a million things and you need to be able to be called away because cows are out, but still be able to do the side hustle. You know what I mean? So we are going to be talking what actually works for you guys as producers. Side hustles that can keep you on the ranch, support your long-term goals, and sharpen the skills that matter in the long term. So side hustles for me are massive. I love talking about them, right? Because side hustles are a way for you guys to take your ranching operation to another level, right? It can take what you're already doing and just complement it and scale it to be bigger. I have always been a side hustle person. I was side hustling when I was at my corporate job. I really think that there is a lot here and there's a lot that we can be doing as producers. And I will say, there are going to be things that I bring up today that you're going to be like, duh, big red truck. Hello, that's kind of obvious, but it's still considered a side hustle because it's not actually raising cattle, right? And so I think it's important to keep an open mind, and we are going to be talking first and foremost with these side hustles, the filter of them. So what makes a side hustle worth it, right? Because it has to be worth our time to put in all of this energy, right? So we're going to break it down into three things that everything side hustle must have, because I'm going to give you 6 side hustles today that would actually work and complement your ranching operations for the most part. But if there's one that's not on this list that you're thinking about, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions and make sure that it fits into these 3 must-haves, right? So the first must-have, it has got to have cash flow. It's got to bring in money consistently and not just someday, right? There's nothing wrong with working towards goals and not getting paid for certain things right now, because it is going to be it's going to pay off in the long run. I'm a big let's look at the big picture thing and the long term, not just the here and right now. So if you do have those things in your life, that's fine. I'm not saying you got to drop them, but for a side hustle to really be worth it, it's got to be bringing in cash flow. Next, it's got to have flexibility. If it can't bend around calving season or haying or shipping days or just life on the ranch, it's not going to last. Let's be real. If you can't go and do your job while also doing this, it's not going to work and it's not going to build in the long run. Next, it has to be skill building or bring synergy. So does it teach you something that helps your cattle operation or your long-term vision? Is this something that is fueling you and really just bringing things, stretching your brain, bringing new things into your life, doing all of those things? Okay, so now let's get into 6 side hustles that actually work on a ranch, right? Okay, first and foremost, this one's probably going to be a little obvious, but it is still considered a side hustle in my opinion, because it's a side hustle that my family no longer does because it wasn't flowing with our life, right? And that is custom haying or baling. So big pros of this: you can use existing equipment and labor, and haying season actually comes at typically a really good time because we've sent cattle out to summer grass. If you've got the land and you've got the equipment, it can be a really, really great option. Now, the cons: the weather window is really short. You've got really big fuel and equipment costs if you don't already have all of the equipment. And then you're also putting a lot more wear and tear on your tractors and things like that. And then also you have to have the land for it, right? So that's where custom haying can come in nice because you're just doing it on the other people's land. But for us, haying just didn't make any sense anymore because I think we sold all of our hay equipment 15 years ago, 15 years ago, because we were able to buy hay cheaper than we were able to produce the hay. And so it just made more sense for us to be putting on that hay ground in the summer months than it did for us to be haying it and just go and purchase our hay. Now, that did suck a couple years ago when we had to go down to Arkansas to buy our hay because we couldn't find anywhere locally that had it because we were going through a drought, right? And so there are pros and cons to everything, but custom haying or baling, always a great side hustle option for a lot of operations. Number 2, and this is one that we have talked about before and is growing in popularity, and that is direct-to-consumer beef. So with this, I love it. I love direct-to-consumer beef, even if you just do it on a low scale and you're just feeding out a couple steers a year and you're just selling them to people in the community. Like, I think it's a great side hustle. And the thing with this is it's building your marketing skills as a producer. It's building your community ties. It is building your brand awareness. It is leaving you with a lot of different options to continue to invest in your community. And it works really well if you're already finishing cattle. If you already have an operational standpoint, operational structure where you are finishing cattle yourself, it works really well for you. Now, if you're not and you are a cow-calf producer like we are, and we sell our steers off to someone else is going to go feed them, right? It does take a little bit more effort, but we have show cattle on feed. We have other cattle at the house on feed. It was easy for us to add a couple steers to that at the end of the day. And so whatever works for your operation, but that is always a great option as well. Okay, number 3. Freelance ag content. And this is actually where I got my first kind of like side hustle, was in this. So I'm talking photo, video, writing, social media, all of these things. And some of you are probably going to listen to this and you're going to be like, okay, we're going to skip ahead 30 seconds. And that's totally fine. But this is always a great option. There's always a lot of really great companies looking for stock ag photos as well. I sell a lot of my photos on different stock websites for ag businesses that maybe they don't have a full video team or they're looking for something super particular. And I'm able to provide that with photos that I've just taken around the ranch with my professional photo and video content. And this has been super impactful for my life. It is now why I have a marketing agency, and that's where I got my start in all of this. And the thing with this is you don't have to be an influencer to make money online. There are other options, and freelancing some ad content is always a great way to start with that. Number 4, custom fencing or different cattle handling services. So this is something that is in extremely high demand, as many of you know, and it builds local reputation and physical know-how, right? So all of us know how to do fencing, but the issue with fencing is it is in such high demand that sometimes the payoff isn't always worth it, because of the prices that you can charge in local communities. And then we're also seeing that it's in such high demand that it might be a little bit too high demand and not have the flexibility that you need. But I want you to all think about it, consider it. Is that something that works for you in your operation? Next. Number 5, something that we are actually doing this year for our ranching operation, which is super exciting. And I actually have a meeting with our bank loan officer after I get done recording this podcast to go talk about it and getting the loan for it and all of that jazz. But that is rural Airbnbs and farm stays. So this goes into agritourism, and I am so excited because my family this year, we are purchasing back a property that is on our property that we had a family member buy, and they are now moving out, and we are purchasing it back from them. So it's actually a quarter of an acre that's cut out of our property and has dirt road access from one of our it's on the side of our property. So it's just like a cutout, right? And it's about a quarter of an acre. It's a property there. And so we are going to be purchasing it back and turning it into an Airbnb. And I am extremely excited about this because A, this is something I've wanted to do for a while. B, it's something that is definitely needed in our community. C, I hate renters because we rented this place out before that family member bought it from us. And dealing with renters, not my favorite thing in the world, right? And my husband's probably going to listen to this and be like, but Lauren, when we move, you want to rent out our house. Yes. I think it depends on the renter, right? We just didn't have the best experience with some of our renters, and it can just be so hit and miss. And so, I'm extremely excited for the Airbnb thing because, like, at the end of the day, we could rent it out for 7 nights a month out of 30 and be paid the same amount as we would if we were renting it out to a renter. And it provides us an opportunity to, we've even got like so many things going on, right? Like we've got a bunch of longhorns at our house actually, and they're literally just yard art. Like they were cheap at the sale barn 5 years ago, and so my dad bought them. And they're really cool to go and take pictures of and like look at. They do produce calves. We do breed them. We do sell their calves. But we're even thinking about like we can fence in a lot area, a certain area down close to there and have the longhorns down there, right? And have that even more of like a tourism aspect and be like, hey, pay us an extra $20 and we'll come out and you can feed the longhorns cubes or something like that, right? And really just immersing people in rural communities, in agriculture. This is not for everyone, but it can bring you some really good seasonal income. And it can also, from a community development standpoint, be really good for a lot of rural communities. I have a friend in Southwest Kansas that you would not think that her area would be in high demand for an Airbnb, but she actually turned an old grain bin into an Airbnb that she has on her property. And the amount, like she rents it out pretty darn regularly. Like I would say she's probably at about like 80% capacity most of the time. And this is in Scott City, Kansas, guys, like rural Kansas. And like not just rural Kansas, like she's not in Scott City. She's outside of Scott City. And so, but her thing is she's like, I hit a lot of people that are just on like road trips or want somewhere unique and fun to stay. Like it's cool. She's got a large grain bin turned into now an Airbnb. So like it's a cool, unique stay too, and all of the things like that. But it brings a lot of tourism to her rural communities too, because now these people are coming in and they're going to their local restaurants. They are spending gas at their local gas stations. It is bringing in just it just helps with rural development. And I think that if you have the opportunity and the ability to do a rural Airbnb or farm stays or different agritourism like that, that it is something that you should definitely look into. And you also have to have the personality for it, right? Like I'm extremely outgoing. I'm an extrovert. So is my dad. This is like right up our alley. We are the people at cow shows that people are walking by, like pointing at our cows, and they're obviously like people from the city. And I'm like, hey, do you want to like come up here and pet them? Like, let me tell you about my cow type of thing. And so that's just us at our core. And so you do have to have the personality for it, but it is always a great thing for communities, for farmers and ranchers to just bring in some good seasonal income. And let's go into number 6. Let's go into the final one. And that is trucking and hauling. Again, this is probably one that you're like, duh. We do that already. Why are you telling us that this is a side hustle? It's still a side hustle, okay? And not everyone does it, but it is something that is, again, in high demand. High quality haulers are in extremely high demand, especially if you get into some niche markets like the show industry or just higher paying industries like that, where we have show families that really need animals hauled in the spring months when people are buying steers or buying heifers or things like that. But they're like $60,000 heifers. So they don't want to just throw them on any old truck. They want it to be a higher quality experience. So that is always an option. But then just traditional hauling and trucking. If you have a CDL, it is a great opportunity to look into, and you stay close to the industry with this. You are feeding your communities. You're able to see a little bit. It just helps with a lot of different things, that a lot of soft skills that you can have as producers. And so definitely something worth looking into. Does not have to be something that you're doing all the time by any means. Again, this is a side hustle. This is something you can do once a month to just bring in a little bit extra income and just help provide for your family and your operation in a different way. So now, as we round out, I do want to remind you that like you need to avoid some things in side hustles if you're in production ag, right? So here are some red flags that I want you to look out for when you are looking at side hustles, right? So ones that take you off the ranch during busy seasons. I feel like that's kind of an obvious thing. That's been a trend for this episode, maybe, is obvious things. But if it takes you off the ranch during busy season, it's not sustainable, right? And then the second thing is anything with super high overhead and long ROI. ROI is return on investment. So if it has super high overhead or it takes a really long to get that return on investment, then it might not be worth it. And it might be something that you should probably just avoid in the long run of things. So here are some tips for you guys as we round out the podcast. Start with what you already have. Whether it's skills, equipment, or land, evaluate your life that you have right now and ask yourself, what is something, a skill that I have, equipment that I have, land that I have that I can turn into something, right? Like you already have a property, turn it into a rural Airbnb. You already have all of the equipment for haying. Maybe that's something you decide to do this year if you have the land for it, or maybe you're going to go and custom bale or whatever that may be. Look at what you already have and build from there. Next, I want you to pick one thing, not 5. It is not sustainable to look at that list and be like, I'm going to do all of these. You're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to do any of them well. It is better to pick one thing and do it extremely well. And then if you have the time and the capacity, maybe adding another after that. And then wait until you figure out the thing and you've mastered it, and then maybe you add another then. But it is not sustainable for you to sit here and say, I'm going to do every single one of these, because you're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to do any of them well. Just pick one thing and start there. Next, build a brand, even if it's simple, right? People buy from people that they know. So even if you're not selling direct to consumer beef right now, it's still important that you are building a personal brand and that you are looking at yourself and your operation as a story to tell and that needs shared. That doesn't mean that you have to show up on social media every single day. Building a brand does not automatically equal social media. Building a brand is also reputation and how you're showing up in the industry, what you're doing for your community, how you're giving back, how you're contributing, all of those things. But start building a brand now, because that is something that is just going to compile over time, right? It is something that it's evergreen. It's always going to be there. It's not going away. So just start building it now, even if it is super simple. And then next, I want you to track income and time spent on these projects and make sure that it pencils out at the end of the day. Because if the time that you are spending on them is not matching the income that you are bringing in, or you are bringing in more income in certain areas than you are in this one, that's one of those situations where, like, for me, I was like, okay, this is how much I need to be making hourly. And if something that I'm doing is not matching that hourly rate, goodbye, gone. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy for it. And for me, it's not necessarily goodbye, gone. I'm not doing it. Maybe it's goodbye, gone. I'm not the one doing it, and I have a team member doing it, right? Maybe it's something that we still need to be doing, but it's not feeding and fueling me anymore, or it's not matching that income to time spent ratio that I need to be keeping. And so just at the end of the day, make sure it pencils out. So with this, we talked about a lot of things today, but your side hustle shouldn't compete with your ranch at the end of the day. It should strengthen it, right? These are side hustles. These are things that you're doing on the side. These are things that should be building momentum and fulfilling you and bringing you joy. And I want you to be asking yourself, when you're doing these things, is this building towards your long game? Is this something that is building towards your long-term goals? Is it truly fueling you in your operation? So I want all of you to think about what you can monetize this year and go for it. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be crazy. Pick one thing, do it well, and just start. That's all I have to say. Just start. Don't let this be something that you're like, oh, that sounds like a great idea, and then you let it go, right? Open up your notes app on your phone, write down what you're going to do, and hold yourself accountable to it, and start working towards those long-term goals that you have for your operation and just overall fulfillment that you guys need as well as producers in ag. So as always, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. I hope you all have a great Friday, and we will see you all on Monday. Have a good weekend, y'all. We'll see ya.